This video and others like it are funded by viewers like you. Thanks for your support. Today, I want to put out a bolo, be on the lookout for Jesse Wiseman, the alleged murderer of Laura Lopera in Medellin, Colombia. Tonight, we have a special guest. Let's jump into it. Follow along.
You're watching DC-born Rob, Racing Borders. And now, the news.
Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you're located. Thanks for watching. You're watching DC-born Rob, Racing Borders. I'm DC Rob. Again, I said I had a special guest. This one is even more special than the last one we had over last weekend. And you know, that was a hell of a story, but this one is more important because it is timely. So today I have a special guest, and for today, we're going to keep him anonymous. We'll just know him as viewer for right now because he reached out in the comment section. And after that, we spoke via email, and then we spoke on the phone, and now here we are seeing each other. So I will bring on my anonymous viewer now. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Rob. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Let's see what we can do with this story from here on out. I have quite a few viewers, hopefully more than there are police, that can give us some assistance with this one. So let's jump into it and tell the story why you're actually coming on today.
Sure. So I met, long story short, I met the suitcase killer in Canada traveling cross country. I was traveling on the VRL train, VRL number 2, the Canadian they call it, traveling from Vancouver to Toronto, which is about a 2.5 day journey. My stop was in the prairies here in Winnipeg to meet some people. And about 20 minutes left in the journey after about 2.5 days towards Winnipeg, I sat down for dinner in the dining car. All meals are served, very nice meals on the train. There was 2 gentlemen at the table, which I sent you the video of. The gentleman directly in front of me, we'd be having a great conversation all day. The gentleman to my right, same thing as well. The gentleman to the far right, I hadn't met or had any interaction with up to this point in the trip in 2.5 days. We'd all been on since Vancouver. And one of the gentlemen asked, what are you doing? It's very typical in the train. Hey, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? Business, family, whatever you're doing. And I mentioned, hi, I'm going for a trip to Denver next week for business, and some other specifics as well. And the gentleman to the far right had injected his opinion after admitting that he had just drank a whole bottle of wine to himself in his private cabin, which the 2 directly in front of me and beside me, we all kind of looked at each other like, interesting. It's rather odd, but okay. Hey, you're allowed to drink in your cabin, so be it. And this gentleman injected his opinion about travel advice for Denver, altitude sickness, skiing advice. And as you can see in the video, he's significantly heavier set. And as being a former professional athlete myself, he didn't overwhelmingly establish credibility for the things that he was saying. And I tried to be polite. We're on the train. We're going to be stuck here for the next 45 minutes having a meal together, so you might as well not make it any more hostile than it has to be. And he instantly accused me of being very dismissive, not taking critical feedback from him, and being unpleasant to talk to. And I explained to him, I said, listen, brother, I appreciate your 2 cents. I'm glad that you have these life experiences. Thank you for sharing them with me. I just need you to understand that they don't resonate with me. I've never been skiing before. I've never been to Denver before. All these things you're telling me, they don't really do anything for me. Nothing personal, but this is just what it's doing for me. And he was very upset about that. And we continued eating for about another minute or so. And then he said that he was excusing himself to the washroom. Now, the washroom was directly behind me. So the gentleman would have had to have gotten up, moved over, come back down behind me. And when he stood up, keep in mind, I had my head down and I'm eating, but I could sense out of the corner of my eye, I saw him get up out of the chair. And the second he stood up, I got this overwhelming energy of, I think he's about to hit me. Now, I'm 6'5". I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I train Muay Thai kickboxing. It's not really a problem for me. But I'm also conflicted at the time because I can sense something's off. And also, this is an environment where people are paying $2,000-$3,000 a ticket to be on the train. There's a nice meal, a nice environment. You're not exactly picking fights on a moving train going 100 kilometers an hour through the prairies before you arrive in Winnipeg. And so I'm battling with myself, and I've convinced myself after about a second, okay, it's not going to happen. This is ridiculous. Just let this go. And so again, my head is down, and I'm shoveling the salad, the starters in my mouth. And when he's about parallel with me, right as he's just about to escape my peripheral vision, he sucker punches me in the side of the head, right about here. And it took me a second to realize, because I felt him hit me, and I've been punched in the head many times before. And obviously he'd been drinking, so it wasn't exactly like an overwhelmingly hard punch. But he did hit me, and it took me a second to realize, because again, I'm still trying to convince myself that people are paying high money. This is a high-end experience. People aren't going to be doing this. And after about a second, I turned around and I looked at him, and he was already hiding behind one of the staff members. He's being a coward, obviously. So they separated us. They asked, was everything okay? Yep, great, so-and-so. Train arrives. I was informed that he would be removed from the train effective immediately, and he would be carrying on. He was carrying on to Toronto, but he'd be off in Winnipeg. And the police asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. They said, unfortunately, with the way the criminal justice system in Canada is, we're just going to write him a ticket. He's going to carry on. Your best bet is to not press charges. We'll throw him in the drunk tank for the night, which is going to be a bad experience for him. And I said, sure, yep, not a problem at all. So they did that. They threw him in the tank, and a day or two goes by. I ended up punching some of his information into the internet, found his name, found out this was the suitcase killer who just fled Colombia 2 weeks ago after murdering a 20-year-old girl, chopping her body in a suitcase. And the second I saw his face in the article, right away, like that is the guy. I remember his face. I remember everything. And I asked one of the other people in the train, and they said, yeah, he was hiding in his cabin the entire time. He was acting very suspicious and whatnot. And so it all kind of made sense. He had hidden his cabin the entire trip. There was no really interactions outside of that. So that basically was the story.
Okay, you say, how did you know to look him up if you didn't know his name already?
One of the VIA staff members, the managers, had mentioned his name when the police had come, and they asked what was his name. They said Jesse Wiseman, and it stuck in my head. And then fast forward, next day, whatever. I remember that very specifically. I punched his name in, and then the articles popped up. Everything on Facebook, on social media pops up, and that's the guy. That's the suitcase killer.
Okay, had you watched my videos before?
I'd never seen your stuff. Actually, my girlfriend, I gave her the information, and she had said, try to reach out to as many sources as you possibly can. And so I'm reaching out to different news articles. I'm trying to find stuff in Colombia, stuff in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, obviously. I'm English predominant, and you were being one of them, and I tried to get as many people as I possibly could to reach out.
Okay, so let's get the day straight. Was it the 21st?
Correct. So the train had left Vancouver at 3 p.m. Pacific on February 19th. And then 2 days later, it was in Winnipeg, probably around 8:30 on February 21st. That would have been Central Time. He had assaulted me at 8 p.m. and then the train had arrived around 8:30 p.m. And yeah, about 45 minutes later, we had addressed it with the VRL train police as well as the Winnipeg police, which was a very disappointing interaction because they would have in the system with Interpol that he is a blue alert and that he's wanted. I ended up following up yesterday, or no, sorry, 2 days ago, and they told me to stop Googling things because it's nothing in their system. And I sent them the articles, I sent them the video, I sent them the photos, and I said, look, like this is the suitcase killer. You have to be blind not to see this. Like this is the guy. And they told me, please stop Googling things because this is not the guy. Or not that this isn't the guy, but we don't have anything on our system about him. He has a clean record in Canada. And I said, well, okay, he has a clean record in Canada, but do you not see all these news articles in Colombia and even the Toronto Sun having an article on this gentleman? But they were very dismissive and didn't seem really interested in that, which was a shame because they also mentioned that he was released from the drunk tank the following day. And so he is, unless something has changed, I'm assuming he's going to continue on east towards his destination of Toronto. Maybe he's trying to go international from Toronto somewhere else. Maybe he's trying to head to Nova Scotia where he's from. But outside of that, the man is walking on the streets of Winnipeg. As we know, there's a killer among us in the city that's not doing so well for crime rates in a country that's kind of gone down the path a little bit with the crime rates and some of that stuff. So very disappointing, very upsetting. And at the moment, I was upset that I didn't do something to him because, again, I am trained and I'm trained to handle this type of stuff. But knowing that he is a suitcase killer now, I realize, okay, maybe it was better that I didn't do anything because you never know what somebody that unhinged would do. I mean, to kill a 20-year-old woman, chop up her body, put her in a suitcase and flee, you're not exactly sane or stable. So who knows?
Okay, so you gave the police his name, or they
I give
got his
them,
name
I,
from his identification?
so to travel on the train in Canada, you don't need to show identification, which would explain why he was traveling by train. If you were flying, you need identification, rental car, same thing. So he was traveling, I guess, without identification. But for whatever reason, I would assume because he was drinking so much, the VIA manager, like the train manager, got his information and said Jesse Wiseman. And then again, when I punched it in, everything added up. So I think there was a critical error on his part, slipping up and very sloppy work to preserve, I guess, his freedom, if that makes sense, or his being very quiet, slipping under the radar. But yeah, the police confirmed it, and the VIA manager, the VRL Canada manager as well. So yeah, that was that.
And so you continued to call the police and they told you stop calling and stop Googling?
I, I know it sounds crazy that they made me feel like I had a tinfoil hat on, but I said, look, the Toronto Sun, one of the more popular newspapers in Canada, has an article on this from 2 weeks ago. To accuse me of stop Googling things and I'm insane was beyond disappointing. And I'm still shaking. As you can tell from my reaction, I'm still shaking my head because there's a murderer on the streets of Winnipeg right now, and we're acting like, oh, well, he doesn't have a criminal record in Canada. They actually, and this is word for word, they told me we have much bigger issues in the city. I'd be more worried about a drug addict attacking you or stabbing you at a bus shack. And I said, I understand that's a huge issue in the city, but it'd be the same as saying, okay, listen, there's a war going on in Russia and the Ukraine right now. We have bigger issues. We can't focus on that. Yes, there's always going to be bigger issues, but there is a murderer on the streets that just chopped up a 20-year-old woman's body, left a 3-year-old child without a mother and a family anymore, and fled the country. Like that is an issue as well. It may not be as big as some of the other issues, but that's an issue.
Exactly. So one thing I have brought many a people on, many a person on in the past, I don't know, 5.5 years I've been doing this. One time I got and I was told something that wasn't completely truthful. So I'm having to do due diligence and make sure that there's enough information to back up. While I can't attest to it, I can say I've seen the video and I will be and already have shown the video during our conversation. And I'll take some stills from it also to show who exactly you saw. But what got me was when I asked you, I said, how certain are you that it's him? And what did you tell me?
I swear on my mother's life, my father's life, my lifetimes, you can bet anything you want. This is the guy. Because I remember when I opened that first article from the Toronto Sun, his face was there. It was a light bulb of that's the guy. I remember his face. I remember the look on his face when I looked behind me after he'd assaulted me. That is the guy with no doubt. There's 150%. That is the man.
And that's the key. I want the viewers to know he is 100% certain. If somebody puts their mama on it, then you know this is serious. So, and before anyone even comments, yes, I've already contacted my contacts there. They've since contacted the prosecutor's office, and they'll soon be talking probably, hopefully today. So we'll see what comes of it. But I wanted to bring him on because I'd like to put out my own personal bolo. Be on the lookout for this cat. So this is a Canadian. You are a Canadian, right?
Born and raised in Canada. I'd also like to mention as well, I find it astonishing that this man was able to flee Colombia, head to Guatemala, at least from what it says online, go to Turkey, come back to Canada, which may have been a big mistake on his part because I know you can escape extradition in Turkey. But even if he just went from Guatemala to Vancouver and he's trying to travel across to go to Toronto, and then how the Interpols didn't stop him at some of the customs, I find astonishing. And even, like I mentioned, the Winnipeg police not stopping him. Again, I just find astounding.
Exactly. But you said he had altered his appearance in some way, right? Did he shave his mustache?
Absolutely. So he was clean shaven, at least it presented. I look at the video now and I remember what I saw in person. I think he might have had a wig on because he had long hair. Like he had it was a very short mullet. So like it looked just like my hair right here, but then long blonde hair, but it was only coming out about back there. Like it wasn't a lot. And then he had the hat on. He had the glasses that were down to here, and he never pushed them up, which I would assume he was putting the glasses on to look different, but he didn't actually need them to see anything. Yeah, he and the Jasper Canadian Rocky sweatshirt, which he would have gotten the day before stopping the train. Again, all red flags on this one. As I mentioned, everybody on the train mentioned he was very suspicious. He was acting odd. He didn't leave his cabin, and yeah, there is a killer on the streets of Winnipeg right now and in Canada again.
Exactly. And the key is, guys, he heard him say his name. So that's how he had the name to even go look up who this guy is. So this is shocking to me, the fact that he's just simply walking around and he's on a train. And for those who haven't taken a train before, I mean, I have on Amtrak in the States, and if you're on, you have a sleeper car, or even if you don't, and when you go to eat dinner, you share it with someone else. They piece you together. So if it's just yourself, they're going to piece you with 3 other people. If it's 2 of you, they're going to piece you with 2 other people. So he just happened to be sitting at the same table as this guy right here. So, I mean, it's going to take people like this and people like you to actually report this. If anybody sees this guy or think you see him, just thinking you see him is enough in Canada right now, or really, he could be anywhere. So if you think you see him, call someone. Remember 123 in Colombia, or reach out to me via email, dcbornrobgroup@gmail.com, dcbornrobgroup@gmail.com, and I'll make sure the contacts that I have in Medellin will jump on the job. But I wanted him to come on and tell you that he has been spotted, because every day I'm getting questions. Is there any update? Is there any update? Or at least every other day. Is there any update? So there is an update. And this is the latest news that I have heard on it. And I look every day, every day.
This is a big story over there, Rob?
This one is disturbing. When I gave the information to my contact there, she didn't recognize the name right away. And when she talked to the prosecutor's office, and she came back and says, "Is his name Jesse? I think Gilbert Wiseman." And I said, "Yeah, I can't remember if it's his middle name, but that's him." And that's when it got real. So, I want to thank you, number one, for coming on. I hope my mic is okay. I've been having issues, and sometimes it garbles my voice.
If I could point out one more thing there, Rob, I also find it so disturbing, and to your viewers that are watching the video version of the show, I remember previous to dinner, I do a vlog documenting a lot of my my travels across Canada. And I always ask everybody before we start dinner, are you okay if I take a little video? This is a really cool experience. Get the dining car, get the essence, get the atmosphere. And I remember him very specifically saying, sure, go ahead. And as you see in the video, friendly, waves to the camera, playing it off cool, which obviously if he would have said, no, don't film me, that's obviously suspicious. So I could only imagine what was going on in his head. But critical mistake and sloppy effort on his part to allow me to capture that video to share with you. And hopefully we can put him behind bars, because that is disgusting what he did to that 20-year-old woman. And
exactly. I forgot to ask that. So I would have been running that video throughout this video. And I want to keep it as short as possible, because I want people to see this through to the end. But again, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to pass on before we jump off, though?
That's it. That's all the information. That was a couple of days ago in Winnipeg. He was heading to Toronto. I find it amazing that he's walking the streets. Thank you, Rob, as well. And hopefully this will help put him behind bars where he deserves to be.
Absolutely. Nobody needs to lose their life, especially a 19, 20-year-old girl with a 2 or 3-year-old baby and their family. And I've had already a guy, again, guys, you have to recognize that the families of everyone who's lost their life there ultimately looks for information. They run across my site and they read the comments. That's why I'm so particular about being sensitive in the comment section, because they read this information. So when you put up something that is just insensitive, it's not going to stay up on my channel. Just put it that way. I've told you before, I'm going to take it down. And if it's really crazy, you put up something you said, then I'll just remove you from the channel. But recognize that someone has lost their life. And this is not the first time that family or friends has reached out to me. So just be conscious of that, and let's do the best we can to catch this guy. But again,
I'd also like to add one thing. If any of the family do watch, I tried my best to get this information to as many people in Colombia as possible. I don't speak Spanish, so my apologies. I'm trying my best, and I hope that, although again, it's so sad what happened to that girl and to her family, I hope that to the family, if they do see this, I hope this does bring some solace, knowing that hopefully we can put him behind bars. I'm very sorry what happened, and I hope that this does help a little bit.
Absolutely. People are on the lookout. So be on the lookout for this guy, especially my Canadian viewers, which is probably my second largest viewer base. So anybody, you Canadians up there, you're in the news, you're popular now in Colombia. I think it's because it's cold up there and a lot of people go south for the winter. But so let's stand up like this gentleman right here, Mr. Anonymous. And I want to say thank you again for coming on. Thank you so much for passing this information on. We'll go ahead and jump out now unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
That's it. Thank you for having me, Rob.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.